good afternoon. Happy after school on a Thursday afternoon. I'm wondering, on a scale of 1 to 10, how tired you are. Feel free to answer in the chat. I'm just kidding. Julie and I are like, we're so excited that this is the last part of our day with you to be able to share our webinar, our It's a Tech Tip webinar, all about Google Drive. We don't have a long session for you, and thanks for joining us, like I said, after school. And we basically want to make sure that all of our employees and our teachers and our students in the district know that they have access to Google. And so that's the main basis behind our session today. All right. We have our Google expert, I think, Sharita Martin. Sharita doesn't know it, but if anybody asks a googly question that I or Julie don't know, Sharita, I'm calling on you. All right. Okay, we're going to get started. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to do a quick overview of, I'm going to say Google and Google Drive. I'm going to just get started by letting you know that here in our district, every teacher has access to a Google account, and so do our students. The way that I know, just by looking over the shoulder of a teacher during a training or over the shoulder of a student while we're doing a lesson, that they are in fact in their EPISD Google account, it's usually by looking over here on the left-hand side, and I can see that they have their EPISD bookmarks. I'm wondering if you see your EPISD bookmarks when you guys are in your Google, and I can pause if you want to take a moment to go look. If not, just take a note of that. Okay, so under your EPISD bookmarks, as a teacher, you're going to have 4 items in here: your EPISD, My EPISD link, Schoology class link, and Office 365. If you're a student, you just have these first 3 items. It's really helpful because if students are signed into their EPISD Google, they have that in a flash and they're able to get to their district tools pretty easily, okay? The other way sometimes we don't have that bookmark bar and people are not sure, am I signed into my EPISD Google account? I'll ask them to take a peek at maybe their profile photo, or it might just be a letter or just a bubble. And I'll ask them to click on it. And when they click on that profile bubble, they're going to notice their EPISD email address here. Now, if someone is using a personal account, it might be gmail.com, or we'll have something else behind it. Okay, so inside of EPISD, we all have our EPISD Google account. So that means that if you were going to go ahead and sign into a Google account, you would want to make sure that when you sign in, you're using your EPISD email address. So I'm going to definitely advocate for that. Okay, I'm not going to actually do that at this point, but that's what I need you to know. For our teachers and students, we want to make sure that they sign into their Google Chrome account using their EPISD Google account. From here, our focus is going to be on Google Drive. So I'm going to look over on the right-hand side, and this is where you're going to find your Google waffle. I'm going to call it a waffle. And in our EPISD Google accounts, we do not have access to Gmail. So if I were to head off to Gmail, I would get this notification that I don't have access to it. But by clicking on this waffle, you're going to see what you do have access to inside of our EPISD Google account. Not all of these tools are tools that we're using district-wide, but one thing that we want you to take note of is the EPISD Google Drive. And the main reason I want you to know this exists is because as our students are receiving their Chromebooks, one of the default places that they can save to is Google Drive. So we want to make sure that our teachers are aware of this Google Drive, and also while you're working with students, just having knowledge of how the Chromebook saves files and how to change up some settings so that we can make sure things are being synced into the Google Drive will be valuable to know. All right, so I'm going to get started by just sharing this intro area. I don't want to apologize for what you're going to see, but this is live, okay? So you're going to see the things that I'm actually working on. And so right when you hop into your Drive, I just want you to know here in the center where it says Welcome to Drive, I have my files and folders. I'm going to click Folders because I feel like it's a little safer. You can see that I look organized right now. But on the left-hand side, it drops you into a space called Home, okay? And Home isn't necessarily like your flash drive files that you're trying to see. It's kind of like deciding here are some things that we suggest and we think you should take a look at, okay? Um, you do have activity and workspaces on the left-hand side, but I'm going to pop you on over to My Drive. My Drive, if you've been using Google Drive for a long time, is the way that teachers, again, in the past would want to see all of their files. These are the things that I've been saving. If during the pandemic I saw someone's really awesome Bitmoji classroom and I made a copy, or I saw a really great presentation and I made a copy, if you were signed into your EPISD Google account, those items would probably be here inside of your drive. I've taken the time to begin to think about organization so that I can find the different files and organize the different files that I have here inside of my drive. And so I just want to point out that for the files that you have, you may or may not have, if you hover over them, you do have three dots and you are able to delete anything. Like I said, if you made 17 copies of one really great Bitmoji classroom, because I was like, make a copy, make sure I have this because I could use it, right? If you find that you have multiple copies of things, you can most definitely move those items over to the trash and work on organizing any of those items as well into folders, okay? So I do want to highlight that you can definitely search your drive by types. So if you know what you're looking for, hopping into this space and being able to look for those items based off of the type is definitely going to be a helpful thing. You can also search by different people that share things with you as well. And then by the date that you modified your files. And so as you get more and more files inside of the drive, those are some different ways that you can definitely do some searching in there. So knowing that while working with students is definitely going to be helpful, because if they tell you, hey, yeah, I made a presentation, but I can't find it, then making sure that they're in their drive and we're clicking on presentations will help file and filter that out so that they can locate their items. And of course, they can take advantage of the search up here at the top. I do want to show you something that we feel is really important to teach our students, and that is to create folders to begin saving their things. The reason Julie and I wanted to share a little bit about the Google Drive is because as we've been teaching teachers about the Chromebook and working with students, we're seeing what their drives look like, their Google Drives, and we're seeing file after file after file after, right? A lot of files, Julie? Not. A lot of files with some bizarre names. And we're thinking ahead in 3 months or in 6 months or next year, they may not know what those files are. And so just like at the start of the school year, you might ask students to put together a binder for your math class or put together a folder for your reading class. Inside of the Google Drive, it might also be a good idea to begin teaching our students to create those folders as well. And so here you can see we have an example third grade folder, right? So if my students were entering seventh grade and I was the first person to work with them on creating a folder and all they had was a lot of files, I would direct them up to the top left and tell them, we're going to go ahead and create a folder today so that we can keep everything organized and you can find the projects that you're working on this school year and most certainly find the things that we're working on together as a class. So I want to point you to new folder, and a recommended way for students to name their folders would be maybe their grade and school year. If you're a teacher and you want to begin saving some things for a special unit or a special subject area, you might do the same. So I'm going to pretend that I'm an 8th grade student. So I might put 8th grade. And I'm going to put the year 24, 25. And it could be 20, 24, 25. Really, I think it's going to be most important that students understand this. Okay. And then we can click the create button. When you do, you're going to notice that you have a new folder and maybe it looks boring like mine and it's gray. You can actually click those three dots and you have some options, but one of them that I really like is this word organize. So I know sometimes when I go to Walmart and I'm trying to find the perfect binder for my kid and they want red and we can't find red, it's annoying, but guess what? Digitally, you can pick whatever color you want. My favorite color is purple. So for 8th grade, I'm going to go ahead and create a purple folder here. And so one other thing that students can do as well is take advantage of this add to starred, and starred will also make it possible to find a folder or a file very easily if it's something that, again, we need them to access often. So it might be a project and so forth. So I'll model this, but again, if it's a project they're working on, they can also add a star to it as well. So I'll click a little add to star, okay? I'm going to probably pull it over to Julie in a moment, but Julie, do you have files to upload into a folder on our student account? If not, I'll pull one up here.
There's a couple of accounts.
Okay. All right. So over on the left-hand side, so I'm going to throw it over to Julie here in a moment. I also want you to know that there is a shared with me area as students are collaborating or as you're working with other students. If you're looking for files that have been shared with you, you're going to look for them here in this area. You also have a recents area, right? And then you have a starred area. And this is where I place that 8th grade folder. And so if it is overwhelming for students to look at a lot of different things, like in the drive, again, taking advantage of that starred will make it so they have a nice simplistic view, and then you can access and begin saving items here. Okay. We have our spam and our trash and our storage. Basically, our Google Drive is a pretty simplistic area, but this is on the teacher side. I'm going to shoot it over to Julie because Julie is on an actual Chromebook right now, and there is a setting that we can modify, and then we want to show you how to save some of those files into a folder created for our students.
Yay, okay. Hopefully you can hear me now. Karen had to unmute me for some reason. So currently you should be seeing my Chromebook screen. Is that what you were saying, Karen? This is our first time, at least for me, sharing my Chromebook screen. So can you see that now? Yay, okay. So just know on the student Chromebook, you do have most of your files and organization in your Google Drive. There's very little space that's physically on these computers. And so you do want to make sure that your students are saving everything to the cloud. And so on your Chromebook, just a little vocabulary if you are not familiar with them. You do have your launcher that's down here at the bottom, which is your circle, which shows the different applications that you have access to. And this bar along the bottom is called your shelf. And so on the shelf, you do have some things that are bookmarked. If you need to pin the other items, you can pin other items. But I'm going to go ahead and go to the launcher. And underneath the launcher, you're going to see Google Drive. And so when your students want to access their Google Drive, all they have to do is click there from the launcher, and it's going to pop them out to the web. And everything is already synced in with their username and password, so it's going to pull up directly to their drive. So this is our sample student drive, and just like Karen had already shown, you do have where you can organize between viewing your files and viewing your folders. And all of the other spaces that she talked about as far as going into my drive, shared with me, all of that is there. So in our sample student here, you can see that we do have folders that we've already created for different grade levels because our students are going to be moving along from one grade level to the next with these devices. So we want to make sure everything is kind of kept up to date. So this is what the drive looks like. Also know that there is a space on the computer that is called files. And again, that can be accessed from your launcher. And it has this little file folder on it. There is the downloads that do come from Chrome to the My Files. That's the default location. But know that if you do have any items in this download, you can very quickly and easily click and drag it over. Oh, it's not clicking and dragging over from the student, Karen. So maybe we won't be able to click and drag it. There we go. Okay. So I had to move over my screen just slightly. So I can take anything that is on My Files, which again is local to the computer. This downloads is already part of the file system on the computer itself. I've downloaded a couple of items here, and then there are some screen recordings that will go into that space as well. So I can take those items and drag them over, and you'll see a tiny little plus, which means it's going into that space. When you do the transfer of files this way, it should immediately show the items in that folder. Know that if you do create a folder, it's not always going to be immediately accessible. And the same thing when you are creating new files, it may or may not be immediately accessible in the drive. So there is a delay. I'm not 100% sure on the time delay on it. So just know that there is going to be a delay if you need to transfer some files or rename folders or things like that. The other thing you can do So like I said, in your files, you do have to where it's automatically set to download into this My Files. You can redirect where your downloads go. And so this is something that you can do on your computers if you need to, or if your students would rather have the downloads go to their drive directly, you can change that. So I'm just going to quickly show you that in case that's something that you want to do. But in your Chrome settings, you have your More button, the three little dots on the right-hand side. And if you go down to Settings, under Settings, you have your Download settings, and it's going to tell you the direction of the file transfer. So right now, my drive is going, or my downloads are going to my drive in my Google Drive and to my online downloads. If I wanted to change the location, I can go to Change. And I can actually choose a folder for where I would like it to go, or I can create a new folder of where I would like those items to go. And this is where there might be a slight delay on it, on your drive viewing that folder from your online space. When you do download to it, it does download immediately, but viewing it in your Google Drive, there is going to be a delay to it. So I can go in and create a new folder, rename it. I'm just going to put DL for this because we do have several download folders already in here. So when I change and click on open, you're going to see that it should have renamed it here. I don't know why it did it that way. It didn't save it as download. Let me try that one more time. Let me go to my drive. It did put it in there. I don't know if you all saw it. It saved it inside the online downloads. Let me try that again. You want to make sure that you are in My Drive, which is your main folder in your Google Drive. Go to New Folder. I'm going to name that one here and click on Open. So now when we look, it's going here. And again, I don't know why it's delaying the name. All the times I've tried it, it's showed the actual name. So it should be in this space. And when I come over here, this is where it's going to be. Oh, it actually did it right away. We have different delays on different devices at different times of the day, just so you know. But it did send it to that space. So now if I go anywhere like in Schoology, if there's a file that you've placed in your course and the student needs to download it, in this case, from my computer with my settings, it would push it directly to this folder. But other than that, your default setting will download it directly to the device. But once you start downloading a whole bunch of things, again, the storage capacity on these is very, very minimal. So we do want to ensure that the students are using their drive so that they can place any files that they know that they're keeping in that space for easy access later on. And we do want to make sure that we also teach our students where to go. Maybe mid-year you do a cleanup, or end of year you do a cleanup of the files that you are no longer using, so that they don't continue to build up and build up and build up on your device.
Can I share how to do that really quick here, Julie?
Mm-hmm.
Julie unmuted me. My Zoom window was hiding over a very important area, which is right over here on the right-hand side. And so when cleaning up your drive, I know I mentioned it, but Julie said like at the end of the school year or even at a midpoint or end of the 9 weeks, taking a moment to hop over. I like to go to list view when I'm thinking of cleaning up. Some people like to see the tiles, but list view will give you a different view where you're able to like hop in and see exactly what things are like this. That's where I would say is a weird title. But you can definitely hop on over for like accents on the Chromebook. I don't want to delete that. That's a file that I need. But by heading over to those three dots, students can definitely move things to the trash. And if something's in the wrong folder or it's not in a folder, by heading over to that word organize, they can definitely hit move and they'll be able to find those folders to move them into that correct folder. So in this case, if I wanted to move, I really don't want to move it into a folder, but I'm just going to move it into third grade, Julie. All right, let's see. I'll move my accents into third grade. And once I click the move button, it's going to take that one file and place it into the folder. And so that's really important when they're cleaning up. If they take a minute to look at those files and move it into the folders they created, or take a minute to delete those items, that's going to be really helpful. So that way it's keeping that space nice and clean and they're able to find things when they need them. I do want to pause and see if anyone has any questions about the Google Drive, or I'm wondering if there was something that you were hoping to learn that maybe wasn't covered today. I don't see any questions just yet. First, I'm going to stay here. Julie did drop in a link for you to sign up for our overview of OneDrive. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in as well. You do want to take a moment to click on that link and then make sure that you sign in for today. And just as a quick recap, Julie and I shared that all of our district EPISD teachers and students have access to Google. And so they can, in fact, log into their Google browser and begin saving important bookmarks if they like, but you're going to know because they'll have their EPISD bookmarks. It makes it very easy for you to help direct them to their school tools if they have access to that. We took a minute to visit the waffle in Google so that we could navigate on over to the Drive. And from there, we took a moment just to kind of overview real quickly some of the different pieces. I see that Jenny did ask, the Google login for students is the same as their Microsoft login, and that's absolutely true. As soon as you type in your EPISD email address, you're going to notice once you hit return, it's going to pull up that authentication, that Microsoft One login window that they get, and they'll be signing in that way with their the same login that they have for Microsoft. So absolutely, great question. Continuing that breakdown though, then I tossed it over to Julie and Julie shared what Google looks like, or let's say our Chromebook, what it looks like on the Chromebook and how to access the Google Drive from the launcher, and then how to get to files from the launcher or our taskbar, and then how to begin organizing inside of our OneDrive. And as we mentioned, it's really important that we talk with our students a little bit about this, so that way we're teaching them how to keep their digital space organized, just like we would have them keep their desk or backpack organized. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Like I said, Julie and I will hang back if you have any questions, and feel free to email us if any questions arrive after you start working with your students using their OneDrive.